We've had a number of comments on will AI replace coders, so we wanted to touch on this. Honestly,
Well,
the question is,
the
yeah.
comment was just very
The answer is
well.
yeah,
The comment was
eventually.
very straightforward. But
Yeah,
let's be fair, right? Because when I was commenting on it, I was saying AI can basically code,
yeah,
right? There's Claude Code, and there are other ones out there that are coding, right? Essentially, somebody who's in coding, I would guess, has a sort of bias that what they do is an art, it's a craft, and they can't be replaced because it's super critical to the mission. Go into any corporate department, every department thinks they're more important than the next department, right?
for
That's
sure.
just part of,
Yeah.
that's probably natural that you believe that your role is the most important. But let's be fair. For for people like us, AI can code. You know why? Because it codes a hell of a lot better than we can.
Yep.
The learning curve to do it on our own. Now I've taught myself to code a little bit, just enough to be dangerous. AI can extend my ramp much farther than I ever could have done it before.
For sure.
I can get up a prototype in a week. I can get up a web page overnight, and it's all done, right? Now, the code that was generated there, right? A proper software engineer will faint if they
Hmm.
have to read it, right? Because
Yeah.
they look at it. Now, that doesn't mean human code doesn't have bugs and errors and
Yeah.
contradictions and it's just
Exactly.
badly formatted. It just means that AI pumps out a lot of code that nobody's really looking at.
Yep.
They're just thinking, oh, it's done, good enough, let's go. Now that may work for a consumer-facing app or for a web page, right? Or like I'm making my own little game just to get it prototyped and get it ready. It clearly can already code,
Yeah.
right?
For sure.
I think what people are saying when they're pushing back, and I think this is fair, how would that work in enterprise? What about the security, right? Is it efficient? Can it scale if you start to
Hmm.
get a lot of users? And the answer is probably not, right? You can't just go to an enterprise IT department and say, hey, I vibe coded this, be my customer. And they ask you, well, how does it work?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't even looked at the code. I can't,
Yeah.
I can't tell you. And I think that's fair for people to push back there. That what that then means is you still need software engineers to do the scaling, the infrastructure, the security, if you want to have any hope of doing an enterprise business. Because there's just no way risk averse corporate people are going to allow something in that is not transparent, right? In the EU, it's going to be especially this way. If you can't tell me down to the last dot what's in there and how it works, you're going to be in trouble.
I agree with you on most of your points. I do think that AI coders need oversight right now. And what we're seeing in the real world right now is that junior level coders aren't getting hired. It's getting increasingly hard for a junior level coder, someone right out of school, to get a job. Now, the people who already have jobs largely are okay. They would have to monitor junior level coders anyway. So why not just monitor the AI and what it's doing? It
That
seems
could, I
like a
mean,
lot more cost
that's a
effective.
fair point. And I wonder if that not hiring junior coders is just not hiring junior people in general. It's part of that trend. And I think it's partly because people don't know, especially executives. I don't think they have any idea what AI can do.
No.
They're just they just see it as again a way to lower the headcount, increase efficiency. I'm not sure they understand how to actually deploy it to achieve more productivity efficiency. From what I've talked to a few CFOs on this, they don't see it in the numbers yet. I would guess that enterprises are going to figure out they probably have to bring some of those junior coders back, if anything, because those senior ones don't want their eyes bleeding, right? Looking at all that code,
Yeah.
right? Maybe the role changes, but it's clear that something is happening on the coding side where AI can actually accomplish a lot. It gets you there faster, right? It gets you to prototype, do something that you can release a little bit faster. But is it production ready? I don't think so, right? At least the thing I
Yeah.
made, I would not trust it as a corporate customer of it. Now that I have proper software engineers, you can definitely trust it, right? It's
Yeah. And I think you're right. It is more than just coders. It's anything that is dealing with large strings of text. So, attorneys' offices, for instance, now I know you can't get legal advice from an AI legally in some states, but at attorneys' offices, instead of a paralegal to review contracts or search for contract law, AI is a pretty good bet to pull some stuff forward that your paralegal might pull forward in front of you anyway, and do it at a lot cheaper rate, $24 a month versus whatever you have to pay in a paralegal. I think in that regard, it's very similar to that, because code it's a written language. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, the stuff that I think you're talking about is, maybe it doesn't notate as well. It doesn't put notes. If you're not familiar with coding, there's the actual code that performs things, but then there's a lot of notations that go into it in order for engineers to go back and look at this code and determine what's happening.
When you ask Claude, for example, a question, it's like voluminous, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of text coming back. It's just actually producing too much code. Maybe it's unnecessary. And then if you have a lot of that going on, there'll be unpredictable bugs.
Sure.
There's also the problem that it tells you it's searching for bugs, but doesn't actually look because it's lying to you. Or it's telling you it created some feature that doesn't actually exist. So you still have to actually check all that. That's the point, right? And I think law is a good example. This AI slop has this tendency to have this extra stuff in it, security bug, maybe bugs that we're not aware of, right? And hallucinations, right? In the case of the legal cases, right, that went to Supreme Courts and high courts, and the lawyers get sanctioned for using cases that didn't exist, I bet you there's going to be a business in verification and audit. It's going to be verifying and auditing that this AI produced code, or just AI products in general, there's going to be a business around making sure that it's secure, that it's accurate, because as of now, my trust in base model output is very low.
Yeah.
Based on, we just watched a TikTok video about one of the models claiming it could do mathematical calculations when it cannot. That's a big problem still that I don't think is properly addressed. And maybe there's a business there. Maybe the foundation models will be able to do it. I think one of the issues is these models by nature are stochastic. You know what stochastic means? Like probabilistic. So because they're probabilistic, they're going to have error in them. It's probably always going to be there. It's just inherent in the models. On the one hand, that's good, makes them creative, especially on speculative things. That's why Microsoft put in for entertainment purposes only, because you can't control that probability distribution very well. Because that's inherent in the technology, I'm just guessing that there's always going to be an opportunity to do this verification and audit. Just my guess. Because that's a pain, right? If you launch one of these, and I think this is going to come, this is just a guess. Let's say I am guessing there will be product liability suits or some of this vibe coded stuff where people just released it. It causes damage to someone. And I'm not discouraging people from vibe coding things, but be aware that if you're releasing this stuff, the law is going to be new, but the law is usually going to be against you on that, right? If you've released something into the wild and you didn't do proper due diligence on security, etc., you're going to be in trouble.
It brings back to mind, the McDonald's hot coffee incident lawsuit.
Yeah. Well, there was this case. I don't know the name of it anymore. It was a Canadian airline, and they were using a chatbot. It was their own employee, I think, was asking about severance, and the chatbot lied to the employee about the severance, and then when I think it was about when they could file, they ended up being late or missed some deadline or whatever, and then they sued the airline, and the airline said, well, we can't be responsible for a chatbot, right? And the court says, oh, yes, you can. Yeah. And I think that's probably correct. That's how most of product liability works. If you're putting something out there to the customers and it damages them, that's on you.
No, I completely agree. The same rules exist for humans. Humans err, and humans make mistakes, and humans put stuff out there that harms other people. So,
but my point is, I think it gets you in the habit of just not checking.
I agree.
Like, am I really, especially, amateurs like us, if we're vibe coding something, I don't even know what I'm looking at.
Right.
So, right. So how many people out there are doing that? And even coders, they may have a clue what they're looking at, but they're not going to spend the time to read thousands and thousands and thousands of lines of code probably. So that's the problem, that it's producing so much code, billions of lines of code that nobody's checking. Maybe it's doing a good job, but how much would you bet on that?
No, I wouldn't bet anything on it.
Yeah.
I don't think that one's on Polymarket yet, but we can maybe I'll keep my eye on it.
We should put one on there, like first $1 billion payout in a lawsuit due to vibe coded AI.
I don't know. It's not going to replace coders in the long run
Not
completely
fully.
ever.
Not fully.
Not fully. Not
I'm a
fully.
big believer, my personal philosophy is you should use AI not to displace people, but to augment them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like it
Well,
should make you better at what you do, more creative, more productive, more efficient,
yeah.
not replace you.
Yeah.
Because I think if you put it in the hands of somebody who's creative, they can do a lot of damage, right? Like for the good.
Yeah. Well, to
Right?
throw your own words back at you from something I think you said in our first episode is that efficiency is a code word for headcount. Cut your
Yes.
headcount. So you're going to use it to augment, which is going to replace some lower level people that you don't need anymore. I think that's just the way
Maybe,
it's going to go.
maybe, but at least in corporate, if you're, let's say you're not the manager, but you're below the manager, and you're using it basically just to make your life better. You have to realize that manager still does not have an incentive to get rid of you
No.
unless corporate is forcing. Because why?
Well, yeah.
Because you are part of that manager's power base, part of the status of that manager.
The way that I think it's going to go and the way that it went for companies that I've been at, they cut headcount and ask questions later. So they'll
Yeah.
cut headcounts. You call it a pruning. You grow back stronger, whatever. But you cut the headcount first, and then you start negotiating with your directors and your managers as to how many people they actually need. It's a bit of negotiation, and you kind of got to push them and find out the real answer. They cut first, and then they work their way back up to something that's working well. It will, in the end, cost some jobs. I think we'll level out, and I think there'll be jobs in new industries doing new jobs, just like that old story of the elevator operator, which I think got cut out of our first episode. I told this beautiful story about the elevator operator and how he was
Hey,
out of his job.
Elon also made a reference to that this week.
Oh, did he? Yeah.
That people used to be afraid of not having that elevator operator on there.
Yeah.
'Cause,
It's terrifying. Like, who's going to,
Yeah.
it's just going to stop itself at my floor? Huh?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I would not want to ever get stuck in an elevator.
No, no, absolutely not.
I always wonder that,
Yeah.
especially when I was in Russia, those elevators, you were never sure if they'd make it to the top or drop, whatever.
Well, I can
They
tell
actually
you,
worked.
having worked in telecom, all these buildings are legally required to have those telephones hooked up to a service that works, and not all of them do. So just
Well, I was going to say, if it's an electrical failure that causes the elevator to stop, is that also
I mean
cause-
that true. They're supposed to be independent systems. They used to be, but now
Yeah,
things
I
are
would
changing
guess.
because landlines are going away and they're too expensive. So yeah, they're gonna have to be some generator stuff involved. Well, I don't know. That's a whole
bring
rabbit hole.
bring back the elevator operator.
Maybe he knows how to get out. Maybe he's specially
You know-
trained on how to escape the elevator.
I find this insane. Some states, I don't know if it's still true. I think New Jersey was one, Oregon maybe. They actually require somebody to pump your gas for you.
Oh, that's a state law. Yeah, I've heard that. I think.
Yeah, that's still amazing to me that that exists. But that used to be the model. You could justify that through service. Like, I want to have somebody there who pumps it for me as a service.
Yeah.
But this is actually what's required.
So every time there's a spike in oil prices, I'll see these rage bait videos. They have to be rage bait. They can't be real. But it'll be somebody sitting in their car at a gas station filming the girl at the pump in front of them, and she is filling up plastic bags and putting them into the back of her Subaru. Plastic bags full of gas and putting it in the back of her Subaru because she wants to buy it now before the price goes up.
He's a prepper.
She's a prepper. and not a way that you should transport any type of fuel or flammable. You shouldn't do that ever. And they have to be
But
rage
you-
bait. They have to be rage
but
bait.
you
People
remember
don't
this-
actually do that.
You remember that before COVID, though, right? Like in Germany, everyone bought all the toilet paper.
Oh, yeah. Well, they
I
did here
don't
too.
know what they were imagining was going to happen, but
We ran out of toilet paper here too.
yeah.
I know
Yeah.
the paper goods at my supermarket were out of stock. I don't know. People do some crazy things, but I think nowadays it's just the rage bait. There's this guy on TikTok, man. I've been scrolling through some TikToks lately. There's this guy called Overspray J who's just he goes, if it's less than 100,
If you ain't dripping, you tripping.
and he's talking about 100 sprays of cologne. If it's less than 100, like you're not even applying. Like that's his thing. And so he sprays himself over 100 times with this cologne, expensive cologne. It's just rage. It's just rage baiting to get views and attention. It works. I think it's freaking
It works.
interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's
works.
interesting. Anyways.
Well,
Anyway, shout out to Overspray J.
I'll do a nerdy thing here. Why do you think we're so attracted to rage bait?
When I get set off, I'll open that comment thing and I'll just type out everything that I want to say about that subject that's been building up for months and months and years. Finally get triggered by that perfect thing. It has to come out. Now, I have the capability of reading it and like a sensible person deleting it and trying not to interact with it when I can. But most people don't. Most people just hit send these days.
Well, you know, in the news, they always have this line, if it bleeds, it leads, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think this is like evolution, that we tend to overly focus on negative things with a lot of downside because the cost of being wrong about that is like death.
Yeah.
And so we're just not interested very much in things that are good because what does it hurt you if you're wrong about something being good? It doesn't. There's actually no risk. Well, one guy gave this example. Hey, you know, if you see a shadow behind a rock, the person who went and checked that is no longer here. Right?
Oh.
Like, right. So we're programmed to freak out about things like the shadow behind the rock because the person who went and checked, if there was a lion back there,
Yeah.
that person's genes did not get, promulgated to the next generation.
Right.
So the people that did survive did not check. That's why we're so afraid of sharks at the ocean, even though the probability of that is almost nothing. It's the same with airplanes. The probability of it is nothing, but you can be sure if one does crash, we're attracted to that story.
Yeah. Nuclear power. Same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. It's
So-
less killed less people overall than coal
I
mines.
think it's just pre-programmed into us to like drama. And I think rage bait plays on that because the thing that is causing the rage just actually never really happens. It's very low probability. And that's why we overreact to it.
What are you going to lose by looking at it or reacting to it? As I get older, the thing you're going to lose is your time. So
Yes.
every day that I get older, the more I value my time and what I want to spend it on. And I realize how I've been wasting a lot of it. And I'm like, oh no, I'm never getting that back. So it may change your view someday. You might think about what you're spending your time on, and
Well,
you might get so much of it in your life.
You may be losing a bit of your soul, like Dorian Gray on the last one, every time you respond to obvious rage bait.
Yeah, you might be. Hey, you've just watched a clip from Show Your Priors podcast. We hope you liked it. Check out our main channel for full episodes. We're also anywhere podcasts are found. Give us a like, subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything, but helps us out a ton. We'll see you back next week.